Hello there. So you have completed writing your Django application and you're excited to show it to your friends. But which hosting service would you pick? Is it Amazon Web Services? Is it Drop Cloud or is it Google Cloud? I don't know. Maybe I have missed some of your favorite hosting services. Okay, I know you're going to write comments about that. So today I'm going to talk to you about Heroku, which I think is a great option. This video is created with no assumptions in mind. It is easy to follow, and I'm sure that when you have tried to deploy anything to Heroku, you would have gone through a lot of blog posts, a lot of documentation which might seem outdated. I realized after a lot of research that the deployment process is a lot simpler now, and I need to document it, and that's why I created this video. Plus, I also talk about the top 5 mistakes that most beginners make when they're deploying to Heroku. This is Arun Ravindran, and welcome to Arun Rocks Tutorials. Before we start, I want to tell you what Heroku is and how it compares to other options. No, I'm not paid by Heroku in any way to make this video, though that would be really nice if anyone from Heroku is watching. Well, if you already know all this, jump ahead. Section time markers are in the description below. Cloud. Most of us use cloud hosting nowadays, so I'll explain that. Cloud is just a marketing buzzword, which means that computers are available to you on a pay-as-you-go basis, like electricity or water. They may also have a free tier like Heroku. There are so many types of cloud hosting options, but only 2 are relevant to us. Infrastructure as a service or IaaS, Platform as a Service or PaaS. An IaaS gives you a machine with a freshly installed operating system like Linux. Are you comfortable with installing Python, databases, web servers, and all other software? More importantly, can you keep them updated regularly whenever a security fix or a patch becomes available? Then IaaS might be a good choice for you. Examples of IaaS are Amazon EC2, Google Compute Engine, and DigitalOcean. A PaaS instance, on the other hand, comes with pre-installed software like platform. You don't have to install and maintain the low-level layer called infrastructure, which includes Python, web servers, etc. But you still have to keep the versions of software about the platform, like say Django, up to date. But most PaaS vendors automate it so that it is as easy as git commit and push. Examples of PaaS are Heroku, Google App Engine, and Red Hat's OpenShift. Let me give you an analogy to understand this better. Hosting an IaaS is like maintaining your room in your house. You have the flexibility to set up the furniture any way you like, but you have to tidy the room yourself every day. PaaS is like a hotel room. Everything is already set up before you enter the room. You may make some changes, but not a lot. Here's the best part. The room is regularly tidied up by the hotel service. So, the downsides of a PaaS is the limited flexibility in customizing your stack and the PaaS-specific changes to make in your application. But the advantages are easy maintenance and faster deployments. Why Heroku? It's free. It's great for hobby projects or prototypes. Easy to use. Git integration alone makes the deployment a breeze. Web-based interface, so you can access your projects from anywhere. Scale up easily. If your app needs more resources, upgrading from free tier is easy. Though here are some of the reasons why you should not or would not use Heroku. Slow to spin up. The free tier offers slow dynos that can take many seconds to wake up from idling. Heroku specific changes. Like all PaaS, you will need to change your project to suit the platform. Cost. The pricing might not be suitable for all kinds of projects, so please check the pricing. No direct access to underlying infrastructure. Well, you cannot write to the file system, so no custom logging or access the operating system services directly. There might be add-ons which can help you with that. In short, Heroku is quick and easy for small projects. Let's look at how to deploy a Django project to Heroku. It's just 7 easy steps. Ready? Step 1. Take a simple Django project. You can take any of your existing Django projects, but I recommend starting with something simple so that you can fix deployment issues early on before your application becomes complex. To make it easy to follow along, I'll first create a simple Django project, which is just a page showing the date and time. Note that I'll be using Arch Linux, but you should be able to easily adapt it to any operating system. The details of my setup, like which shell I'm using, is shown on the screen. First, open your command line and install pipenv. You can also use virtual env to create a new environment, but I prefer pipenv for its dependency management. As recommended, I'll install a pip user install. I already have it installed, so it is trying to upgrade it. Create an empty directory called Heroku test. Enter this directory and type pipenv install Django. Pipenv will create a new virtual environment and install Django. Next, enter this environment using the pipenv shell command. Create a new project called showtime using Django admin stat project command. Optionally, run the black command to format the generated code. Next, run migrate to create a local database and the initial set of tables. Now would be a good time to create your Git repository. Ignore the selected or the generated SQLite database. Add all your files and make your initial commit. Next, we will add a template, which is our home page. Use an editor to open your settings. I'm using Emacs, it's alias to EM. In settings.py, find the template section and mention the new templates directory in the list of directories to search for. Next, tell Django which directory contains all the static files. While you're here, set the server's time zone to your local time zone. Otherwise, your pages will show Greenwich time. Create a templates directory. Next, create a new template file called home.html in your templates directory. Just a simple HTML file will do here. Note that we mention a style sheet called main.css within the static directory, which we have not created yet. The body of the template is just a heading which shows the current time and date using the built-in template tag now. Next, open urls.py. Add a path from the top level shown by an empty string to a generic template view that uses our home.html. Finally, run the server to see the page with the current date and time. Next, let's add our static files. Create a static directory. Create a simple main.css file inside it. This CSS file just changes the background color to yellow and text color to maroon. Again, run the server and refresh your browser. Colors should have changed, which means the style sheet in the static folder is getting picked up. Now our simple Django project is ready for deployment. Next, we need to make some Heroku specific changes. Step 2. Install Heroku dependencies. We need to install 3 dependencies using pip env. Unicorn, a Python WSGI HTTP server. Django Heroku, a library to simplify Heroku setup for Django. Scicop binary, a PostgreSQL adapter for Python, as we will use PostgreSQL on Heroku. Pipenv will not only install these dependencies locally, but will also make a note of them in the pip file. When we deploy, the contents of the pip file tells Heroku what dependencies your application needs and will install them remotely as well. Step 3. Activate Django Heroku settings. Next, open your settings.py. Import Django Heroku. Go to its very end and activate it by calling the settings. What it does is it changes a few settings to suit Heroku. Say, if your database URL is present in the environment, then it uses that to configure the database settings. Similarly, it can configure allowed host, logging, secret key, and many others to suit the Heroku environment unless you tell it not to. Step 4. Create proc file. Let's create a Heroku specific file called procfile. This tells Heroku what commands should be run on startup. In our case, we will be using Unicorn to serve our web application indefinitely and print log messages. Step 5. Install Heroku command line and login. So far, we have been using the command line. Heroku has both a nice web interface and a powerful command line interface. We will install the command line tool called Heroku CLI. I think it used to be part of the Heroku tool belt. Please visit the Heroku CLI install page given in the description to know how to install it on your system. I'm using the Yay tool to install it on Arch Linux. Once installed, you will need to log in using the Heroku login command. Check your browser for the login page. Use your Heroku username and password. Then come back to your command line. Step 6. Create app on Heroku. Next, tell Heroku what name you would like to give your app. This is the same name that will appear in your URL. So choose something short and memorable, like Showtime in my case. Your name has to be unique, so if anyone else has already taken it, then you will need to find a different name. Well, so I'll use the name Showtime42 for my project. Step 7. Adding Git remote and push or deploy. This is the final step. Add all the changes you have made so far to Git and commit. Ask Heroku tool to set up your Git remote and mention your app's name at the end. Lastly, push your changes to Heroku. This starts a long chain of commands that will scroll by your screen. This is the deployment process. Heroku will automatically do this each time you push. In case your deployment fails, do not worry. Go back and check your steps. You may have made a typo or two, fix them, and commit them to Git and push again to redeploy. If everything went well, then your application is live at the URL. Congratulations! Now that you know that how easy it is to deploy, it can get addictive. But what's more dangerous is how many mistakes we made while deploying. Yes, right now. Some of these are big security holes. So let's look at the top 5 mistakes while deploying Django applications on Heroku in our post-deployment section and how to fix them. Debug is too turned on in production. We have happily deployed with the debug turned on, a huge mistake that I've seen in many tutorials. Probably because it's there in Heroku's Python getting started example. What? I have no idea why I have turned it on with a comment like that, but that's not going to stop anything. Well, my recommendation is pick up debug's value from the environment. If it is missing, then the default should be off. The only drawback is you'll need to explicitly set debug equals true in development before the run server command. So run your server like this. Or you can export debug to true for your entire session. Your secret key is no secret. Your secret key is checked into source control. Now, if your source gets leaked or even open sourced, your data can be compromised. Fortunately, Django Heroku activated in settings.py can pick up the secret key from your environment. First, check your environment variables on Heroku with the config command. Then, generate a new secret key. I will put a link to the code to generate secret keys in the description below. As you can see, it's a random secret key. Confirm that the new secret key is in the environment. Site is never down for maintenance. Whenever you are doing maintenance activities like deploying code or migrating the database, please turn on the maintenance mode. This way, when the maintenance starts, users will not lose data or worse, face data corruption. Notice that we did not run migrate command on Heroku earlier. We only ran it locally. So let's do it on Heroku. But first, turn the maintenance mode on. Now, visitors to your site will see a message. This site is under maintenance. Don't worry, most maintenance activities are a few seconds long or even shorter. By the time the visitors refresh the page, your site will be back up. Please note, if you forgot to run the migrate command, your Django admin will not function. Did you forget to deja vu in Heroku? We just saw an example of this. We ran the migrate command locally, but we forgot to run the same command in the production environment. Heroku has automated a lot of the deployment, but there are some explicit commands that you need to run. Even though you might have the deja vu feeling that you have run this before, you need to always check if you ran it for that particular environment. Make sure you use the Heroku run command so that it executes remotely than locally. Let's now create a super user so that we can log in to the admin interface in Heroku. To err is human, to log is divine. With debug turned off, the helpful Django error page stops appearing. You might also notice that hardly any details of the errors appear in your logs. You can check this by running Heroku logs. In fact, there is no way to understand what went wrong. One way to fix this is to log a detailed error message whenever an exception occurs. Open settings.py and change your logging settings. Link to this will be there in the description. Do not forget to set logging equals false when calling Django Heroku so that it will not clobber your logging settings. To test this, let's create a dummy error page. After deploying, check the dummy error page path. To the user, the error is the same, but if you run Heroku logs, you should see a proper stack trace. Another common approach is to use Sentry. If you don't mind an additional dependency, then consider adding the free Heroku Sentry add-on. That was my detailed tutorial of deploying a Django application to Heroku and the common mistakes you can make. Did it help you launch something to Heroku? Please let me know in the comments below. Until next time, happy deploying. One last thing. Each video I make takes many hours of scripting, preparation, recording, and editing. But you won't see any ads. So, if you would like to support me and see more of my videos, please contribute to my Patreon. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.